welcome to episode number 4. Don't know how we got here already. It's flown past. Now, today I want to talk to you about how does this stuff make any fucking difference in our life, you know? The reason I say that is because, you know, there are some people that I have worked with that truly get this. They get the nature of insight. They get that one insight can make a massive difference in their entire life. They get that once they see something new, their behaviours, their habits, their life can transform. And there are other people who perhaps haven't noticed that yet. Now, if you're in the first category, then this will be a great reminder. If you're in the second category, then this will be hopefully quite useful. And the reason I say this is because everywhere you look is how to lose weight in 60 days without getting rid of the foods you enjoy eating, or, you know, how to become successful tomorrow using these 5 secret and little known strategies, you know. Now, the reason they exist is not only because marketers know that it gets clicks. Well, that's it really. It gets clicks. It gets people to look. Well, why? Well, it's because on some level humans think that they want the how-to. They think that they want the success secret, shortcut habits, or whatever. Or I don't know why that voice accompanies those how-tos. And the reason I know this is because I know that. I'm not above this. I am this. I see it. I feel it. I recognize it. That's the reason I get to talk about the stuff I do. And the reason people say to me, wow, it's like you know what's going on inside of my head. It's not because I'm a mind reader. It's just because I'm talking through the experiences that I've had. I've been them. I am them. The thought pattern still exists sometimes. The only difference is I go, there it is. Whereas before, I didn't realise it was a thought pattern. I was just kind of sucked into it. So I spent a lot of my time looking for how-to information, how to get a six-pack, or how to basically do something that I didn't think I could do using some steps that seemed like they would guarantee me the result, you know, and that's ultimately why we do it. But if that really works, why isn't everyone walking around with a six-pack? If that really works, why isn't everyone in great shape? And if that really works, why isn't everyone a millionaire? The information's there. The how-to is there. A quick scroll of Instagram and you've got every single person, you know, with their private jets, with their names splattered on the bottom, or, you know, any number of guru that's telling you how to. In fact, I saw Gary Vee. I don't know if you know Gary Vee. I'm sure you probably do. And I saw him on stage in Birmingham. And he was just talking about how frustrating it is because he's putting it all out there. All the information you could possibly want. He's not selling you anything. There's no manipulation. He's just saying this is how to do it. Why aren't more people doing it? This is what he's saying. Why aren't more people doing it? I don't get it. And I'm like, I completely get it, because it's not the information that people are lacking. It's not the information that people need. If they did, everyone would just do what you're telling them and they would all get the results, and we'd all be millionaires with six-packs, with all living our dream lives. You know, or maybe you don't want to be a millionaire, but maybe you want to be something else. You know, we'd all be footballers, you know, playing at the top level, or, do you know what I mean? Like, you start to think, okay, maybe it isn't about information. So what is it? Well, it's about action. You know, that's what other people would tell you. It's hustle. You don't want it enough. You don't work hard enough. If you wanted it, you would do it. And to a certain extent, for people like me, that looked true. And if you're like most of my clients, that looks true as well. Because you look at your life and you say, well, I'm doing all of this and I'm working hard at this. And when I tell people what to do, and when people come to me for advice and I tell them they don't do it, they just don't want it enough. They just don't have the motivation. And so it can look a little bit like, well, it must just be about action. And that's true, actually, largely true. Because you need to take some form of action to get some form of result. So then you've got these people hustling and hustling and hustling, but what about if the actions you're taking are the wrong ones? What if you're working your ass off? You know, I don't know, does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? I'm sure there's a saying that if you're running west to see the sunrise, you can run as hard or fast as you want, but you'll never see it. So you can hustle as much as you want in that direction, and it's just not going to happen. It's just an ineffective strategy. So you start to go, well, it's not just information, it's not just action. So there has to be more to this. There has to be more to this. What does someone have to see in order for that to be the obvious thing to do? Then this is the thing. The minute you translate, and people might be coming here thinking, James, just tell me how to. Give me the 5 steps to enlightenment, whatever that is, or whatever you think that is, or whatever you kind of term that to be. James, give me the 7 steps to X, Y, and Z. And I can do that. But if I give you the information without the insight, without the understanding, it equates to fuck all. It really does. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, where you hear something said again and again and again. And then on like the 6th time of hearing it in a different way from a different person, you go, oh, I get what you're saying now. It's like we have to see it for ourselves for it to truly settle in and make a difference. It's a bit like, I remember with Max when he was younger. You tell him, don't touch that, it's hot. What does he do? He puts his finger in the flame. Luckily, I saw it quick enough, so there wasn't even so much as a blister, but it was enough of a split second to cause him pain. Why would he do that? I gave him the information. Don't touch it, it's hot. Well, as humans, we want to learn experientially. We want to go, well, what does hot mean? And what happens? What happens if I put my finger in this flame? Oh, that's what hot means. I get it now. You've been telling me that every day for like 4 years, but now I understand. And that's how humans work. I remember my dad used to get frustrated with me because he would tell me stuff, but I would do it anyway. But then I'd go, yeah. And it's, I told you so. And I'm like, yeah, you did. But now I get it. I get it now. At least now I know is a phrase that generally winds up my wife, or used to. Because I do something stupid that was quite obviously not going to work. And then I go, well, at least now I know. Or I really monumentally fuck something up. A bad business deal, a bad decision, and I'd go, oh, yeah, at least now I know. Because, I mean, on a deeper level, I think that may be why we're here on this earth, to experientially know and learn who we are. It's one thing to be told that owning a private jet isn't that exciting, but it's another thing to know it for yourself. It's another thing to get it for yourself and then go, oh yeah, it's not that exciting, It's like the ones that have money are the ones that tell you that money, isn't all that great. But to someone that doesn't have money, well, they kind of understand that could be true, but they still kind of want to find out for themselves. That was certainly me, and that's why generally the people I work with are a similar kind of person, because they've been through similar experiences. So they not only get what I'm saying, but they go, yes, that's the same as my experience. Anyway, moving on from that point, I digress a little bit. So the point is here that the old formula used to basically be performance equals capacity plus information. But as we just pointed to, doesn't really seem to work that way. So there has to be something more. There has to be something more to this. It has to be more than just information. There has to be... And the first time I realised this is when I used to be a PT. As a PT, I was a personal trainer for 4.5 years or so. And I did really well. And I had some fantastic clients, really awesome clients. But there was a particular couple that I trained, and I saw them both at the same time. We trained at the same time. The time they spent with me was together every single time, week in, week out, year in, year out. Yet one of them lost like 4 stone, got in incredible shape, loved the training, and the other one basically didn't change at all. She blamed me for that, I think. Well, I know. Because it would come out in sarcastic remarks, and then kind of a little bit of wallowing and self-pity, and then it would be followed by a bit of self-motivation, and, you know, really kind of... And it was weird. It was like nothing I could do could get through to this person. And it was like, hang on a minute, I'm the same person, you're doing the same exercises for the same amount of time, I'm saying the same words, yet you've both got wildly different results. That's what got me into this in the first place. That's what made me think there has to be more to this. There's, you know, eat less, move more, lose weight. It's calories in, calories out. I don't give a shit what you think, whether you think all these different exercises make a difference. And the main premise is calories in, calories out. I mean, people will argue with me on that, but I can't really be asked to argue about it. That's essentially at the highest, most chunked up principle. That's what it is. That's what it comes down to. So then the question starts to become, well, why aren't people doing it then? Why is one of them, you know, going and getting fish and chips every weekend and drinking wine all weekend, and the other one isn't? You know, well, why is it? Do you get what I mean? You start to go, there has to be more to this than that. There has to be, one of them must be understanding and seeing something that the other isn't. One of them must be seeing a new insight, a new fresh perspective that's making them feel, think, and act differently during the time they're not with me. What is it that they're seeing that the other one isn't? Or what is the other one seeing that the other one isn't? So you start to go, interesting. It's about thoughts. It's about feelings. It's about actions. So the new formula kind of becomes performance equals capacity minus interference or minus contamination. Now, what does that mean? What does that formula mean? I think we all have extraordinary capacity in different ways. You can try and find, outliers. I can't think of the word. You know, you could say, well, what about someone that has this or that or the other? But as we've seen, you know, for example, I don't know a lot about things like autism, but from what I've seen, they can be incredibly intelligent, for example. You know, I actually fall on the spectrum somewhere according to like the tests and stuff, which would make some sense. Like, you see in like the Paralympics, or you see, you know, some of the best business people I know have got dyslexia, or, you know, they weren't academically intelligent. Everyone is just differently abled, but I think everyone has a capacity. Everyone has and that may not be capacity for performance, or it may not be capacity for sprinting 100 meters. It may be a capacity for, you know, many other things. But we all have a capacity, in my opinion. So performance equals capacity minus interference or minus contamination. So what does that mean? From my experience personally, and my experience with clients and conversations and, you know, hundreds of thousands of conversations, interference or contamination, whatever you want to call it, what do we prefer? Let's go with interference for now. Is usually our personal thinking. So if losing weight is just a case of eating less and moving more, what could possibly stop that? What could possibly get in the way of such a simple formula? Well, our personal thinking. Our thinking about what we should or shouldn't eat, or but I feel deprived, or I need this food, or I like to drink because what's the point of living otherwise, or I deserve this, or I work so hard, you know, I deserve to let my hair down, or it's not going to work anyway, or I'm fat, I've always been fat, I'm never going to lose it, or And this can translate into other areas, of course, business, success, money, relationships. I'm unlovable. I've never had a girlfriend, or, I've always been poor. My whole family's always been poor. I'm destined to be broke. Or the flip side can be the complete opposite. That actually your thinking can be on the flip side. It can be actually you have complete belief and you're going to achieve your dreams, or sometimes it can be blind ignorance, it can be naivety, it can be kind of almost, it can be narcissism, it can be anything really. So my point is, and to take this deeper, when you start to look in the direction of thinking, you start to notice that maybe not all thoughts are the same. There seems to be two types of thinking. There's a thinking that comes from, more of an intellectual place where we try and figure stuff out, and we look backwards at what we've seen and what the past has given us, and we use that to try and predict the future. Like, humans walk around all the time trying to predict the future. It's amazing. How many people do you know that can tell the future? Because I'm not sure I know anyone that can. Yet you get in a conversation, we're currently in lockdown. I'm trying not to talk about it because I'm a little bit bored of the conversation. But, people are like, oh, yeah, we're going to be in this for months and the kids aren't going to go back until... How do you know? Like, do you have a magical ball that I don't know about? Like, where is that? And the same is like, oh yeah, but business this and business that, and this person's not going to afford it, or this person is, or this business isn't going to work, or this business is, or, if I get married, then this will happen. And it's like we walk around trying to predict the future, trying to figure stuff out, worrying about what could go wrong, trying to create contingency plans for all the possible problems. And, some people you may know, it could even be you, always seem to have a negative prediction of a future event. It's like, oh, we can't go to Legoland today, it'll be too busy. How the fuck do you know? Like, how do you know? We can't do this today because of this, and the weather might be this, and the economy's going to do that. And no one fucking can predict that stuff. It's nuts how often we walk around. And again, I'm not saying I don't do it. I see it. I have it. It's just funny to me now because you realise that the human brain is designed to create predictions and trying to predict the future in order to stay safe, in order to stay alive. But sometimes you stop and go, how useful is this to me right now? How much is this serving me? Or how much is this actually protecting me, in quotes, trying to keep me safe through fear of judgment or anxiety or overthinking or overwhelm, or where you're trying to figure stuff out so much that you get so overwhelmed and confused? That's usually where the how-to information comes in. I'm so confused. I don't know. I can't figure it out. I don't know the answers. Here you go. Here's a link to how to gain clarity in 1 second by clicking your fingers, or how to start a digital business in the current age without being stressed. And you get what I mean. It's usually in those moments of feeling like we don't know the answers, or we can't figure it out for ourselves, or we're confused, or it feels like a shortcut. But in my experience, it isn't, because as far as I'm aware, life doesn't work that way. No one has the answers to your life. No one can tell you how best to live your life. No one can tell you how best to get results. Which starts to point us in the direction of, so how then do you know? How then do you know what you should be doing or could be doing? And this is where we start to look at the second form of thinking. Because you start to notice that there are certain decisions you've made in your life that have come from a deeper feeling of knowing. Why am I here? People say, like, why have I created the life I've created when actually, given my past, I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I shouldn't be happily married for, been together 11 years and If you ask my wife, rather than me talking about myself, she would tell you I'm a great dad, I'm a good husband, etc., etc. Other people's opinions of me don't define who I am, but it just so happens that they all seem to be very, very positive. How am I here? How have I done what I've done? And I'm not saying I've done amazing things, but really, given the path that I looked like I was on, with drugs and crime and fucking around at school and any number of things that I used to do, the only way I've ever been able to explain it was there was this drive within me that wanted to be more. There was a part of me that said, I want better, I'll do better, and it was a knowing that I could be better. It was a knowing that life will get better. And then when it comes to things like business, it was like, I will be successful. And it didn't come from ego. It didn't come from thinking, because my thinking often said, no, you won't. The voice deep within would say, you're gonna do very well at this. Follow that passion. It's this drive, this inspiration, this, I don't even know why I'm making these decisions, but I just have to. I remember saying to Jenna that I will do this or I will die. I cannot quit. I have to do it. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. But my thinking, my personal thinking, would be saying, who the fuck are you? You're talking shit. You're talking shit right now on this podcast. No one's ever going to listen. Who are you to say any of this? So the personal thinking was actually in contrast. And that starts to point us in the direction of the two types of thinking. Because there's this deeper form of thought that comes in the form of intuition. It comes in the form of a gut feeling. It comes in the form of a knowing. For most of my clients, and maybe you, they've started businesses when everyone around them said they were mental, when their parents doubted them, their wife doubted them, everyone's saying, what are you doing? But they just had to do it for some reason. This gut feeling, this fire in their belly, this intuition told them. And the more I look at my clients who largely didn't do any of the success habits or all seem to live very different lives, which really messed up my thinking, because I'm like, well, I thought you had to do all of these habits in order to be successful, and yet they all seem to have different ways of doing things, and some of them had never read a book in their life and barely made it out of school and, weren't hugely intellectually or academically intelligent. I started to notice the pattern that they all had developed a deep trust with this second kind of thinking, this intuition. They followed their gut feeling. They checked in with themselves. We named it the shower effect, a client and I, that's become a joke, where when you're in the shower, that's where your most profound insights come. You try and solve a problem all day and you're in your thinking trying to figure it out, and you get all brain foggy and heavy and you get headache, and then you say, I fucking had enough of this. And you go get in the shower and then you go, oh, that's the nature of insight. That's the nature of intuition. That's the nature of what we'll continue to call from this point on deeper mind or mind. We all have an intuition. We all have a gut feeling about people, about opportunities. When have you trusted your gut? And how well has that gone? Or looking back, how obvious is it that was a huge part of your journey? And when you haven't trusted your gut, how's that gone? I know the answer. So, to go back to what I said, performance equals capacity minus interference. It's like this deeper intelligence, this deeper mind, the innate intelligence behind life that makes our cuts heal, our nervous system does its thing, trees grow, our lungs breathe, our sperm somehow fertilizes our eggs. There's a deeper intelligence. And it's a bit like a radio signal, when you used to have to tune in the radio before, like DAB and stuff, digital radio. It's like if there was too much interference, you couldn't really hear the music. It's like the radio signal is our deeper mind and the interference is our personal thinking. Sometimes our personal thinking is so loud that we can't even hear the music. We can't even hear the insight. We can't even hear the understanding or the fresh perspective on our problems or our life. Our personal thinking can be so loud that we forget there's even any music underneath. So what this points to is the nature of peak performance and the less we have on our mind, the more on the game we seem to be, the more in the zone we seem to be, the more responsive we seem to be, the more capacity we seem to have to perform, the more capacity we seem to have to be present to the moment and interact and respond to life. And the more we have on our mind, the more busy our heads, the more questioning, overthinking, overwhelmed, trying to figure things out, the worse we tend to do. The more we tend to become a bit of a moron. More on our mind. Moron. And that points us towards the nature of peak performance and creating results using the principles, which I will continue to elaborate on. But I'm going to leave it there for now. Next episode, we'll likely talk about how we use this in terms of for peak performance. Unless I change my mind, but I don't think I will. Because I follow Insight, and I turn up, by the way. Before I switch on the mic, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I've just learned to trust that when I open my mouth, words come out, and they generally tend to be quite useful, apparently, even though my personal thinking says everything I say is total bollocks. It's quite a quiet voice now, but just in case there's any reassurance, there is definitely a critic, inside me that always jabbers away like an annoying roommate. I've just learned now that you don't have to fight it. It's just there. It's just the nature of being human, as far as I'm aware. But anyway, let me leave it there. Pleasure as always. Great to have you here. If you've listened to all 4 up until this point, then I really hope this is making a difference. And please leave a review and tell people about this if it is making a difference. If it's not, don't do any of that. Do what you want. If it actually genuinely is, then please share this and leave a review, because that's helpful to get it into the ears of other people. If you haven't listened to all 4, then I would invite you to listen to them in order, because that's generally how this is going to work, especially for the first 5 to 10. Then beyond that, I'm probably going to go all over the place. Anyway, have an awesome day, and I will speak to you next time.